How's it going? I hope you are doing just as good as I'm doing today, because I'm doing pretty goddamn fantastic tonight. Finally getting to peak week this week after about 5 hard weeks of training and conditioning. And I am happy to say, physically, new high. I'm feeling a 9.25 today. It felt like everything was there. Nothing felt too hard. The form got a little wonky, I will admit, on a couple of them. But, you know, when you're going as heavy as I did today, it's okay to have a miss or two. The first two makes that I got were like, I leaned forward a lot, but it was more just me lifting with my booga booga brain. Instead of thinking about my form, I was just trying to grip and rip it as hard as I could. But regardless, I was able to put the bar down, walk away, come back 15 seconds later and kill it, you know. And that is a wonderful feeling to know that it wasn't my strength that was an issue. I just had to get my form under wraps. Mentally, I'll put it at a 9, honestly. It was really, really great. Just about every gym homie was there tonight. It was awesome. So a lot of support. And again, it is so cool to write a program that you are not unconfident about, but just uncertain about, because you don't know what the results are going to be until you put in all the work to get to the end of it. And of course, you can always make results when you're consistent with something, even if it's not the best program for you. But god damn, I made some really awesome progress today. To put it in retrospective, it's been 6 months since I hit 225 on Snatch for the first time, which is a long time. Or it's not a big, like a huge gap of time when it comes to weightlifting and your strength growing over time. But still, 6 months is 6 months. But just to, I'm not trying to like give myself a little wiggle room, but I do want to pat myself on the back on the fact that I injured my wrist not too long ago. Within these past 6 months, it was like just after I hit 225. And so I basically hit 225, PR'd, like I only do it once, but maximum effort. And then the next month, I injured my, I didn't actually like really injure anything. I started getting what's called carpal bossing, where the bone, it was specifically on my scaphoid. It's just like one of the main hand bones. The bone's growth like started multiplying super fast to make up for the amount of pressure I was putting on my wrist, because I used to go heavy way too often. And it would pinch off my nerve and ligament whenever I do my lifting. So I actually had to take, it was at least 9 weeks total that I took off completely of weightlifting. I couldn't even front squat. Like, my hands were just fucked up. I did zombie squats, but it's not the same, you know. So I basically could only work on my core, and I couldn't bench properly because my hand wouldn't sit right. So I had to dumbbell bench. So I basically did no Olympic for 9 to 10 weeks. And if you get rid of that time, I have gone from doing 225 as my lifetime PR to the point of now, when it comes to the time I was able to lift Olympic, it's only really been like 3.5 months. And I did 230 for 4 singles today. And I ended the last 2 makes with better form, which is incredible to see, which just goes to show how much form will get, it'll provide you with a lot more wiggle room when it comes to how much weight you can put over your head. No matter how strong you are, if you make progress on your form, you will put numbers up so fast. Like, once you get near perfect with your form, when you're like 10 years down the road in your lifting career, that's, you know, it's a little different, because you're at a point where like you're only going to be able to make super small improvements, and it won't be able to make as much of a difference as it is in the first couple of years that you start lifting. I've only really been doing Olympic consistently for like 2.5 to 3 years now, so it hasn't even been super long. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out because I feel very proud today, and so I thought it'd be really important to mention what's been a super big driving factor to my success in this program, which has been the learning curve of figuring out how to preserve your energy throughout the entirety of your program through your fatigue. Because I think it's extremely slept on how important it is to maintain your levels of fatigue in order to continue lifting at peak efficiency. And so what I mean by this is fatigue is not something that comes from not being strong enough to lift something. Like, a lot of people will just automatically assume, oh, I can't put it over my head, I'm just not strong enough today. Typically, that's not the case. It just means that, I think in most cases, like if you're doing a PR, that's a little different. But if you're like doing a typical lifting day and you're missing some lifts consistently, then rather than pinning it on a strength issue, I think where the issue is you're putting in too much effort on certain days to the point to where your fatigue builds up so much that your core and your form can't stay at its maximum. Because I can't say it as much for powerlifting, but at least in Olympic lifting, I'm 100% certain that when you fail a lift, it is never strength first. It is always, like in my opinion, the first thing that makes you miss is lack of form. If you do not have good form on the lift, that will be the first thing that takes you out. Secondly is your core stability. If your core, not just saying your abs, but your whole trunk around your low back and your abs and everything there, if that is not strong enough to hold the weight when you catch it, then that will be the next thing that kills you. Or not, Jesus, that was a bit dramatic. That'll be the thing that makes you miss. Second, it's never about the strength in your main muscle groups, because like, think about like snatch. Like when you do a snatch, you're not going to be limited by your legs. You can squat like 4 times the amount that you snatch. So when it comes to picking it up with your legs, you're chilling. Secondly, with your shoulders, again, your shoulders are probably going to be stronger than your core when it comes to the numbers it can put up. Of course, it's a smaller muscle group than your core, but that doesn't mean everything, you know? So if you have perfect form and your core is in peak condition, then at that point you can blame it on strength. You know, I think the only people that can actually do that, though, are the people in the Olympics like Lu Xiaojun or Lasha. You know, like those people never miss when it comes to form or core. So if they're missing, it's just a strength thing, which is a really nice thing in Olympic, because it sucks a lot more when it's just your form that's taking you out. Anyway, to me, this is a lot of trial and error and understanding your own body. This is why I'm constantly saying that you need to push yourself to get outside the box with your programming. Of course, you can try other people's programs and run that for a little bit, but that program was meant for that individual person that created it, you know, so it's never going to work to the extent on you that it did for them. They got to that point because they created it out of a need to change the things that they were doing that they were slacking on or not good enough at, whether it's strength, technique, form, core, whatever. So, you know, try implementing your own ideas into your program, even if you are using someone else's program as the basis. When I started, I used to watch Clarence Kennedy videos and take what he would take some, like, I would take a lot of set and rep range references from him. Originally, it's changed along the way to what feels comfortable for me, but you'll learn along the way when you change it every now and then, and it's never going to stay the same. You'll never reach a point to where you have a program that's going to work 100% of the time. Your body's always growing in different ways, whether you're getting older and reaching your peak or getting older than that, and your body will eventually start declining, so you're going to have to make changes for that in order to maintain as much strength as possible. So the whole point is not knowing, like, not like setting your reps and sets and your exercises or how many exercises you should do in a day to the point of, oh, well, I can do this to the absolute maximum and then I'll get it, maybe. You know, you never want to bank on it being like a PR set. I used to do that all the time, where I'd be like, my first week I'm going to do sets of 6, second week sets of 4, and then the last week sets of 2 when it comes to my powerlifting, but they would be PR sets every single time. I was like trying to push like 95% and above on my doubles at the end, and it's just not feasible, you know, especially when the weeks prior to that you were pushing it as hard as you could every time. So the way I have it set up now is I have 2 weeks at a time that I'll stay at the same percent ranges and set and rep ranges, where like the first 2 weeks are like the highest volume, and then the second 2 weeks are that middle volume. With Olympics specifically, I'll start with triples. The second 2 weeks are doubles, and then I end this 1 week with singles. Because you don't need to go heavy that often to maintain strength. You honestly don't need to go heavy to the point of singles at all when it comes to your strength, but you got to have fun. You got to want to enjoy and reach new heights in your lifting. So I go to singles for personal gain and passion in the lifting. Like more than anything, confidence and passion will make you stronger so much, to the point to where it can get to the point where it doesn't super matter what you're programming, as long as you are pushing it as well as you think it will and you have full confidence that it's going to work. That's why writing a program is so great. You spend so much time figuring out what might be best for your body, and then when it really sticks and hits and feels good, that's when you're going to have the most growth, even if it's even if it's an unusual way of programming, because nobody's the same. Even if Lasha gives you his program tomorrow, or Lu Jiaojun, you're probably not going to be able to do it well at all. They have trained for so many years at their level, and whatever drugs or supplements they may be on, they've been training for so long that their levels of fatigue are so much more maintainable, because they know exactly how their body feels when they're reaching that breaking point. And you never want to in Olympic, because it just leads to so many injuries and potential to really hurt yourself long term and maybe not be able to lift at all in the future. This is why I never push heavy weight but once every 6 weeks now. And I'm not even going to a maximum. I'm just going to what I feel like I could comfortably do for solid set consistency. I've been doing 4 sets on all of my Olympic lifts all month, even though they're at different percentages. So anyway, it's hard to explain. So it's you can always look up videos to try to see how other people do it or what they did to get to their point. But typically, you're gonna see you're either gonna you're gonna want to change for the sake of having more fun with it and being more confident in your lifting and having a bigger goal to reach. Something that makes you really actually thrive and drive for it. Like how people will enter competitions or train with people that do similar programs to them to push themselves to compete with those other people. For me, I've never been interested in competing against other people. I've always just been interested in making myself the best me that I can be, which I think is the most progressive way of thinking about it, I guess. Because I want the succession of my lifting to be from me and me alone. It shouldn't be for anyone else, and it shouldn't stem from other people. Like all your success in life. Nobody wants to go into an occupation or make money for the sake of just other people. Even if you do want to help other people, that's great, but you come first. You can't put in your effort into other people without being able to do it yourself and maintain yourself personally. So I just another way to think about it is this snatch day I feel just as tired as I did on my snatch day on my first triples week, which is a really great thing. I know a lot of people would be like, well, you were going heavy, you should feel like you're dying, you should be pushing to the limit. No, dude. You always want to, in my opinion at least, everybody's different, so I can't speak for everyone, but I think in general, most people would benefit from using a similar level of energy every day. But the difference is when you do high volume, it does a lot more core and form and conditioning energy when it comes to fatigue. And then as you increase weight, you start decreasing the amount of energy you use from your core and your form and start placing it more in your general strength. So this week, even I'm not when it comes to my energy levels with my holding my core together and making sure my form is all good, I'm not really worried about that at all. I'm not my core isn't burning, on the triples week, my core was definitely burning, and it's harder to hold the weight up when your core's struggling like that. This snatch day, it was just about the strength and being able to put the bar where it's supposed to be, which is, and so it's essentially, I replaced the effort I was putting into my core and conditioning the first couple weeks, and it's now all strength this week. That was the whole point. Anyway, just to wrap up, don't think too hard about it. As long as you're consistent, these lessons will come and you will get a very good mind-muscle connection with how your body reacts to certain ranges of effort. But just make sure you're training something that feels right for you and something that you can genuinely be confident in, for the sake of you think that all on your own like just all interpersonally, you will succeed in a way. And it might not be with the weights, it could be with form, could be with something else, it could be with other people, doesn't matter. You're gonna make some form of succession in this lift because you know that this change is gonna make you better. And by maintaining that fatigue level, you can maximize the amount of thought you can put in. Like, say if you want to work on your form, you can put all that thought into your form if you're not super fatigued all the time. And that's the great thing about it. You can put your efforts where you truly need to without worrying about your actual strength or mental health. Anyway, that's all I got. I hope that helped, but otherwise, have a great night.